What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how to run a fade route against zone coverage. So we're going to be talking about what you guys can use in terms of like a vertical set and how that vertical set can build into a comeback route, how it can build into a post route, and just really kind of any route in general. This video is a lot about how to manipulate zone coverage. So it's going to be talking about how you guys can manipulate zone coverage and the techniques you can use. And guys, if you want a step-by-step program on how you can improve your route running in 10 days, 10 days only, specific drills, specific workouts, and specific technical points that you need to be a great route runner only in 10 days. Check out that very first link in the description. It's a 45-minute long video. Hope to get you guys on that soon. Let's get started. So this first thing here, we're going to be talking about this vertical set, okay, against this zone coverage. So number one, we know it's zone right when this DB's facing the inside. He's got his hips turned to me. His eyes are on that quarterback, right? That's clearly zone coverage. So my thought process off the line is you want to attack this weak hip and you want to try to get him to sit on a post, and I'm just running a general fade route, right? So I want to close the distance the best I can, right? Close it, give him a head fake to the inside, try to get him to sit on this post, and I beat him to that blind spot and force a speed turn. So let's watch it full speed on. This is more of like a fade on a goal line situation, or not a goal line, but they're in the red zone, so obviously it's cut down. It happens a little bit sooner, but this is something that you can use when you're on the freaking opposite 40 going in, right? Or you're on the 50 going in, or you're in your own backed up on your own 20, right? This is something you could use in any situation to create space on a fade route, right? So again, we're here. Now the most important thing is when this DB's got his eyes in the backfield and he's looking at this quarterback, he's going off a feel. So it's very important that I sell with my upper half. I don't just give him a quick little lazy move, not going to get him to bite on anything, not going to get him to shoot inside. So when I come off the line of scrimmage here and I get throw my upper half, and you see how much he commits his shoulders, how much he commits his head, and he's very sudden with that cut, right? It's almost like a rocker step where he just goes bam, 1, 2. They call this a vertical set, right? Because you're pushing back up vertical. And we're going to get into that on that comeback and that post route in a second. But again, essentially all we're trying to do, sell post with my upper half, make sure that I sell with my shoulders, and make sure that I sell with my hips. Because DB's going off a field. To get him to drive on this thing, I got to make him believe it. So when I throw with your inside leg, you want to make sure that you're throwing your hip, turning your whole upper half, maybe even bringing your eyes to the inside to get this DB to sit down on it, right? So this is something that I suggest every single time when we run a fade, right? Maybe it's a little bit different scenario. Maybe we're like on the 50-yard line. You want to push really vertical. You want to close this hip. You want to attack this front hip, get him on the defensive, and get him to really get on his horse and backpedal out of there. Right now, you want to throw your body into that line of vision, get him to sit down. Now, I want to work to get in this blind spot. So now let's talk about it. When I throw this cut here, usually in zone coverage, it's not about keeping your head down and widening it, unless it's a double move or unless it's a situation like this, right? But when it's zone coverage and you're just running straight off, like maybe you got a corner route from the slot and it's zone, you always want to try to get your head around pretty quick, right? Because the quarterback's going to be putting it in a spot. But if it's zone and you work this kind of scenario, after you make that break, you want to keep your head down and drive off of that cut, that vertical set, that right leg that you threw to the inside. You want to push off of that leg, create some explosion, and burst up and get to this blind spot. You keep your head down, pump those arms, and then beat him by a couple steps. Then I look back for the ball. I don't want to get him to sit down on this thing, then look for this ball right away, because when you do that, you automatically slow down when you look back for the ball. You pop your chest up, you slow yourself down. I'm very vertical with my chest. I'm not going to have any explosion. I'm not going to be able to widen the distance with this guy. But if you can focus on widening the distance, pumping those arms and not looking till you're open and the quarterback puts this thing with air in a good spot, I can make this play. So that's how you guys want to run a fade route against zone coverage. Now we're going to talk about what this fade route against zone builds off of, right? Because there are some situations, especially when you're on the outside, where the coverage just might not be in your favor, right? Maybe it's like cover 4, trying to keep everything in front of them. But the thing that we got to realize is that a DB's worst nightmare in zone is getting beat over the top. So if I can sell like I'm trying to beat him over the top, I get him to sit down, he's really going to get on that horse, and that's going to open up a lot of different things for me. So let's watch this full speed one more time. So he throws that move to the inside, sell with my body, I push off of that leg, keep that head down, and push up vertical. Now let's talk about how it builds off a comeback. So you see vertical set, get to that blind spot, and snap it off, right? So now, this is more like kind of a off man situation here, right, where he's looking at him. But again, it's the same kind of pressure step that we're going to be talking about, right? So again, he's bailing out of there. This would be the same thing, and this is the next clip that we're going to look at. He's going to be facing more to the inside. But again, he's pushing vertical, and he gives him this little fake to the inside, right? Fake right here, gets him sitting on that post, coming off that same vertical set. Then I burst up vertical here, and after that head fake to the post, him pushing up vertical, that makes that DB think, oh, I've seen this before. He's beat me on this before on this fade when I've been in regular zone coverage. I give him that head fake to the inside. inside. I burst up to my depth, and then I'm able to snap it off and create energy at the top of this break. DB's not able to break on it because I made him believe fade. So that's the thing that can set up with this vertical set, right? You could do it on an out route. You could do it on a corner route. You could do this on just a stop route. There's so many different things that you could work this vertical set off of to get this DB to think, oh shit, he's running this fade again. Oh, I've seen this fade before, but it all builds off that initial head fake to the inside when you got to run this fade against zone, right? So his zone, again, is here, zone, deep third most likely, probably deep third because we're throwing this comeback, right? Or this deep fourth, whichever, but he's keeping everything in front of him. He's trying to keep everything in front of him. He's trying to bail, not get beat over the top. He's not really worried about any threats to the inside. He gives him that head fake. Make sure I'm selling vertical after the head fake. Make sure that I'm bursting off of that vertical set to get that DB to turn his hips. If you can burst off of that vertical set and really drive off that leg and make sure that you have some explosion, you keep the same stride length, you don't want to chop your feet, that's what makes that DB think fade. If that DB thinks fade, then I can snap it off, I create some energy, and I'm already ahead of it because I knew where I was going to snap it down. You know where the break point is. So if you don't give an indicator, if you don't chop your feet, if you don't pick your pad level up, if you don't look where you're going to break too early, and you use that vertical set, you push yourself with that inside leg, and you go forward, that's going to get that DB to commit his hips and run with you. And then we can snap it off, then we can accelerate and make this play. That's a great job here by this receiver working on building off of that vertical set. So again, I'm here, close the distance, head fake, sell vertical, snap it off, then accelerate out of this break. So now we're going to be looking at this route from Amari Cooper. Now this is the same kind of zone scenario. He takes 3 steps to that blind spot and breaks it on a post. So this is how that vertical set can get you open on an inside breaking route, like maybe a dig or something like that, or maybe a curl route, or just something to move this DB off that platform. So very similar to this first clip, right? DB's face to the inside. So this is that same zone coverage variation. There are many different types, right? There's so many different ways that DB can play us, whether he goes bump and run or he shows press and then just bails out of there right away. There's so many different variations of zone, but this is very similar to that first clip that we just looked at. So what do we want to do here? We want to attack that weak hip and we want to set him up and we want to try to work to that blind spot. And by blind spot, I mean back in this area right here. So we come at him. I'm closing the distance, attacking that weak hip. I give that head fake to the inside. This is a vertical set, right? So again, he's selling with his body, making it look the exact same as if he was just trying to take off and beat him to the outside. So I give this little head fake, head and shoulder fake, very sudden with that cut. And now we burst into that blind spot because we call it the blind spot because this DB physically cannot see us. And usually what a DB will do if we're in that blind spot is he'll speed turn. So I take 1, 2, 3 steps to that blind spot. I give him that head fake. I let him feel that my body's in that blind spot. And then I pop it off and run this inside breaking route. This DB's sitting vertical. That DB's sitting fade because we made him believe fade with that vertical set. That's the thing, because when you guys got to run a fade against zone, it's chances are the ball's most likely going to you unless we get a lot of space. But what we can treat it as is something to build into so many different routes, right? Because if we're facing a team that goes a lot of zone coverage, they like to do a lot of zone. I come off, I'm giving this DB this head fake, I'm working back to the outside. Maybe he plays it well. Maybe he sits outside. Okay, now I know maybe I got to run a post the next time it gets zone. I give him that vertical set, make sure that we don't take too many steps and it doesn't take too long. Give him that vertical set, 1, 2, 3, pop it off in that blind spot. He stays sitting back like this DB does, stays disciplined, and now I created some space for myself. I created a window for my quarterback. He can lace this thing right off the break and give me a good shot, right? So it's all about building off of that initial release or initial route that we run or that initial move that we run against a zone coverage DB when I got to run a fade. It builds into any kind of outside, inside breaking route. You give that vertical set, you get to that blind spot. Cooper could have done the same thing if he had to run a comeback. He could be bam here, 1, 2, 3, and then snap. He takes 1 more steps and breaks it off on the 4th and runs a comeback. Or maybe he breaks it off on the 2nd and he runs an out route. Or maybe he snaps it right now and runs a stop route. But because we're in this DB's blind spot, because we worked off that vertical set, which builds off of that initial pressure step where we run a fade against zone, that's how we can create some separation. That's how we can manipulate zone coverage. Okay, so let's watch this thing again full speed one more time. Attack that front hip, head fake, 1, 2, 3. Get in that blind spot, make sure I accelerate and create some space for me and create some space for that quarterback to give me a shot. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, please leave those in the comments. And again, if you guys want to become a better route runner in 10 days, step-by-step program to improve your route running, check out that very first link in the description. Hope to get you guys on that 45-minute clip. I'll see you guys next time.